Hello everyone and welcome back to the Synergy Sanctum. My name is Justin. Thank you so much for stopping by. Here at the Synergy Sanctum, we specialize in all things related to Magic the Gathering with a specific focus on deck building. So I aim to show you very quick deck techs that'll show you all of the cards in the deck and how they work together to ultimately achieve the goals of that deck. If you're not already, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We really appreciate that. And we also have a sister channel now, so head on over to Commander Coliseum and check out their content as well. And for today's deck tech, we have another Halloween-themed deck with zombies around Sidisi, Brood, Tyrant, a Sultai commander here, EDH focus build with self-mill and creating zombies. So Sidisi's pretty strong commander. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, you mill 3 cards, which might seem bad until you read its second ability. So whenever one or more creature cards are put into your graveyard from your library, you get to create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. So it is important to note here that it has to be separate instances of mill. So if I mill 10 cards and have 5 creatures in there, that only counts as a single instance of creatures going in. So that'll be a single one. It wouldn't be 5 zombies. So it's a lot of kind of like multiple instances of mill or putting cards into your graveyard and getting the value off of all of the zombies that are going to be made. I've played against this deck a few times before, and Sidisi always just floods the board with a ton of zombies, and it is a really resilient deck that's hard to deal with. So TCG market value is around $82 to $109. We are running 35 lands, with 17 of those being basics between the 3 colors and 18 of those being non-basics. So our strategy is pretty clear. We are going to be putting a ton of cards from our hand or our library into our graveyard, trying to make as many zombies as possible, and then a decent amount of ways of bringing it back or getting additional payoffs off of this strategy. But getting into it today, here is our first suite of cards that put cards into the graveyard. So we're running an Underrealm Lich, which says when you would draw a card, instead you look at the top 3 and you get one of those and the rest in your graveyard. You can also give them indestructible for the turn. Sultai Ascendancy, at your upkeep you look at 2 cards, one goes in your graveyard, one goes on the top. Taigam Sidisi's Hand, you skip your draw step, but at the beginning of your upkeep you look at the top 3 cards, you get to choose one and put the others in your graveyard. So you kind of see like pretty consistent different types of like putting cards in the graveyard here, and you're going to be obviously choosing the creatures, because if you do, then Sidisi's making zombies. Splinter Fright cares about the number of creatures in your graveyard, and he gets his power and toughness from them. And then at the beginning of your upkeep you mill 2. Skull Prophet is a mana dork, or you can tap it to mill 2. Sewer Nemesis, when it enters you choose a player. You choose yourself because his power and toughness are equal to the number of cards in that player's graveyard. And then when they cast a spell, they mill. So you would be every time you're casting a spell, you're getting another mill. Selhoff Occultist says that when it or another creature dies, target player mills a card. Satyr Wayfinder wants you to reveal the top 4 cards. You can keep a land from it and put the rest in your graveyard. Perpetual Timepiece is repeatable mill, 2 mill every time it taps. Path of Discovery, whenever a creature enters the battlefield, it's exploring, which basically lets you decide whether or not the card is going back on top or into your graveyard. So if you reveal the top card, you get to put it in your hand if it's a land. Otherwise, you put a counter, or you can put it in your graveyard. More stuff going in the graveyard with Nyx Weaver. So at the beginning of your upkeep, you mill 2, and you can exile them to recur a card. Mesmeric Orb affects everybody, but when they untap a permanent, they mill. Night Veil Sprite lets you surveil 1 when it attacks. So when it attacks, you look at the top card, and you can put it in your graveyard. So if it's a creature, you dump it. Glow Spore Shaman, when it enters the battlefield, you mill 3, and then you can bring a land back. Nephalia Drownyard lets you mill 3 at the cost of 3 mana. Deranged Assistant lets you mill a card and is a dork. Same with Millikin. And then Acolyte of Affliction, when it enters the battlefield, you put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard, and then you can return a permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. Altar of Dementia is letting you sack these zombies that Sidisi makes to keep having mill happen. And then we've got a decent amount of recursion in the deck, so World Shaper and Splendid Reclamation are bringing back all of your lands. Memorial to Folly is letting you bring back a certain creature card. Living Death is letting you get rid of everything on the board and bring back everything in the graveyard. So that's really good late game. Sepulchra's Primordial is saying that when it enters, for each opponent, you get to take a thing from their graveyard and put it onto the battlefield under your control. Hell's Caretaker wants you to sack a creature to bring something back. Phyrexian Delver says that when it enters, you can return a creature card and you're going to lose life. Dead Bridge Chant, when it enters, you mill 10. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you choose a card at random, and if it's a creature, it comes to the battlefield, and it's probably going to be a creature. There's a lot of them. Champion of Stray Souls says that you can sack creatures to return that many from your graveyard to the battlefield, or you can put him on top of your library from your graveyard. The Cauldron of Eternity costs 2 less for every creature card in your graveyard, so ideally this is only costing 2 black. And then when a creature card dies, you get to put it on the bottom of its owner's library, and you can pay 2 life to return one from your graveyard to the battlefield. Only anytime you can play a sorcery. And then even more recursion in the deck. So we're running Whisper Blood Literatures because you can sack 2 creatures to bring 1 back. So you can sack zombies to bring something back. Obsessive Stitcher lets you loot, and then you could also sack it to bring something back. The Mending of Dominaria has mill on it, so it synergizes with Sidisi, but it also lets you bring back all your lands at the 3rd lore. Muldrotha the Gravetide is really, really good in this deck. So during each of your turns, you can play a land and you can cast a permanent spell of each type from your graveyard. So every turn, you're able to recast a creature that you might have milled. Tussager the Golden Fane, another really good one here. So for 4 mana, you can mill 2 cards, but then you get to bring something back that's an opponent's choice from your graveyard to your hand. So they're going to have to choose whatever creature isn't horrible. Mortuary Mire brings back a card. Havengul Lich says for 1 that you can cast a creature card in a graveyard this turn. When you cast it, Havengul gets all of its abilities for the turn. Finale of Eternity lets you blow up 3 creatures with toughness X or less, and then if X is 10 or more, you get to bring everything back. Dread Return lets you bring something back, and it has a flashback cost. And then we are going to be making a lot of zombies, and we didn't go too hard into like zombie tribal here, but there are a few things that help these zombie tokens. So Undead Alchemist, pretty decent card. The zombie you control would deal combat damage to a player. Instead, that player mills that many cards. And then when a creature card is put into an opponent's graveyard from their library, you get to exile and make a zombie. Second Harvest is doubling up all of your tokens. So it's going to, like, if you got 6 zombies, you suddenly got 6 more. Gleaming Overseer says that when it enters, you amass 1, but it's really here to give your zombie tokens hexproof and menace, so everything Sidisi's making is protected and can attack. And then Diregraph Captain is giving them a boost, and then also when they die, an opponent loses a life. And then other good stuff in the deck, so Zulaport Cutthroats, it's similar to the Diregraph Captain we just mentioned. When a creature dies, everybody's losing 1, you're gaining 1. Spider Spawning lets you make a bunch of spiders, and then it has flashback as well, so it's decent even if you end up milling it. Wonder in the graveyard gives everybody flying as long as you have an island. Poison Tip Archer drains everybody when a creature dies. Villainous Wealth, you can sink so much mana into this and then play every card off of your opponent's deck. So they exile the top X cards of their library and you can cast them without paying their mana costs. Lazav the Multifarious, when it enters, you can surveil 1, but he's really here because of the second ability. You can pay into X for him to become a copy of a creature in a graveyard with mana value X. Except it's still Lazav, and it's legendary in addition to its other types, and it has that ability to keep doing it. So it's not a big deal if your creatures are in your graveyard, because Lazav can become them. And then Kessig Cagebreaker, so good in this deck. When it attacks, you get to make a wolf for every creature in your graveyard. So late game, this just gets ridiculous. Emergent Ultimatum, kind of expensive with the mana cost and all the different colors, but you can search for up to 3 mono-colored cards with different names, exile them, and then cast them without paying their mana costs. Deadeye Tracker says that you can exile 2 cards from an opponent's graveyard to have him explore, which will then trigger Sidisi if you put a creature in there. And then Consuming Apparition, really solid here. Power and toughness are equal to the number of cards in your opponent's graveyards, but whenever you cast a spell, each opponent's revealing the top card of their library until they reveal a land, and then they put all of those into their graveyard, so it's just getting bigger every time you cast a spell. And then more good stuff in the deck. We're running the Get Rog monster because we are going to be putting lands into our graveyard, and we want to draw every time that happens off of the mill. Genesis in the graveyard, you can bring it back. Sir Conrad pings everybody when you're moving in and out of the graveyard. Gerard Golgari Lich is power and toughness. He gets a boost for every creature card in your graveyard. You can sack a creature to drain people for however much power that was, and you can sack a land to bring him back. He has his own orders as well, which lets you search your library for up to 2 creature cards. One of them goes to your hand, one to the graveyard. And then Null Mage Shepherd, you could be tapping all of these zombie tokens to destroy an artifact or enchantment. Additional draw on the deck with Undead Augur, because we are going to be making a lot of zombie tokens. You can draw when any of those die. Azoni Thousand Eye lets you draw when you pay a black and a green. You sack a creature, you gain a life and draw. Crit Breaker lets you tap 3 of those zombies to draw. Grim Backwards lets you draw for sacking a creature. And then Factor Fiction is sort of draw. You're going to separate your stuff into 2 piles. An opponent's going to do that. And then one's going to your hand and one's going to the graveyard. So again, if they end up putting a pile with a creature in it from that into the graveyard, you're getting a zombie. And then a decent amount of mana dorks here with Urborg Elf tapping for any one of your colors in Sidisi's commander identity. Birds of Paradise taps for any color. Llanowar Elves for a green. Far Wanderings is here because of the threshold. So if there are 7 or more cards in your graveyard, you get to search for 3 basics and put them on the battlefield tap for 3 mana. Pretty good. And then Mulch is kind of with this mill strategy, so you're going to reveal the top 4 cards. You get a land, all lands revealed this way into your hand and the rest in your graveyard. So ideally, there's going to be a creature in that pile, which is then going to trigger Sidisi and get you another zombie. And with that, our show has come to an end. Thank you so much for watching our video, and if you enjoyed that video, feel free to share it out with any friends who might find value in it as well. Thank you so much for stopping by. We hope to see you again soon. Have a good one.